You can watch your total user count climb month after month, put it on a slide, and feel like the business is working, while the thing quietly empties out underneath you. A big number of people who once signed up tells you almost nothing about how many actually come back. The count that flatters you and the count that predicts your future are two different numbers. Today, I want to explain active users, the daily, weekly, and monthly versions, the stickiness ratio that sits on top of them, and the handful of ways these numbers fool the people watching them. I track active users on the things I build, not because the number looks good on a chart, but because it is the earliest honest signal of whether people actually want what I made. I am not an academic and I am not selling you a growth secret. I am the person who opens the dashboard, counts who really showed up, and works out whether the product is becoming a habit or just collecting signups. So this is the plain version, the way I would explain it to a friend launching their first product, including the parts where these numbers quietly lie. Wedambachuam putisi. Before any of the daily or monthly stuff, you have to answer the hardest question, which is what active even means for your product. Active is not a fact you measure. It is a definition you choose, and most people choose it badly. Does opening the app count? Does logging in count? Does actually getting something done count? The whole tower of metrics we are about to build sits on this one choice, and if you define active as barely anything, every number above it becomes a comforting lie. Define active as value. My rule is simple. An active user should be someone who did the thing your product is actually for, not someone who merely appeared. For a writing tool, active means they wrote something, not that they opened a tab and left. For an invoicing app, active means they sent an invoice. The temptation is the loosest definition because it makes your counts bigger, but you are only fooling yourself. Tie active to a real action that means the customer got value, and every number downstream starts telling the truth. Daily active users. Daily active users, which everyone shortens to DAU, is the count of distinct people who were active in a single day. It is the tightest window, and it suits products people are meant to reach for often. A messaging app, a habit tracker, something woven into a daily routine. DAU moves fast, which makes it useful for spotting the effect of a change within a day or two, and also noisy because a weekend or a holiday can swing it for reasons that have nothing to do with your product. Weekly active users. Weekly active users, a WAU, counts the distinct people active across a 7-day window. It is calmer than the daily number because it smooths over the natural rhythm of weekdays and weekends, and it fits products people use regularly, but not every single day. A bookkeeping tool, a project tracker, the kind of thing you open a few times a week. For a lot of small businesses, WAU is the most honest single window because it matches how people really use the product. Monthly active users. Monthly active users, or MAU, counts the distinct people active across a 30-day window. It is the widest, calmest number and the one people love to put on slides because it is the biggest. It suits products with a naturally longer rhythm, something you use once a week or a few times a month. The catch is that a wide window hides a lot. Someone who logged in once on the first and vanished counts exactly the same as someone who showed up every day, and that is where MAU flatters you. Why one window is never enough. No single one of these tells the whole story, which is why you watch more than one. The daily number tells you about intensity, the monthly number tells you about reach, and the gap between them tells you about habit. A product with a huge MAU and a tiny DAU is one people try and drift away from. A product where those two numbers sit close together is one people actually live in. You learn the most not from any single window, but from how they relate to each other. The stickiness ratio. That relationship has a name, and it is the reason we bothered defining all three. Stickiness is your DAU divided by your MAU, written as a percentage. It asks a simple question. Of all the people who used your product at some point this month, what share used it on an average day? It is one of my favorite numbers because in a single figure, it tells you whether you have built something people keep coming back to or something they visited once and forgot. A worked example. Let me make it concrete with round numbers, and please treat these as an example, not a target for your business. Say 1,000 different people used your product at least once this month, so your MAU is 1,000. On a typical day, 200 of them showed up, so your DAU is 200. Your stickiness is 200 divided by 1000, which is 20%. That means on an average day, 1 in 5 of your monthly users is actually there. Whether 20% is good depends entirely on what kind of product you run. What a high number means. A high stickiness number means people have folded your product into their routine. If it sits up near half, then on any given day, most of your monthly users are showing up, which is the signature of a genuine habit, the kind of product people would miss if it disappeared. Those numbers are rare, and they usually belong to things people reach for many times a day out of real need. A rising stickiness trend, even a slow one, is one of the most encouraging signals a young product can show. But a low number means a low stickiness number, say down in the single digits, means most of your monthly users are not daily users at all. They showed up once or twice in the month and otherwise stayed away. That is not automatically bad, and this is where people panic wrongly. It is only bad if your product was supposed to be a daily habit. A low daily stickiness on something people genuinely need only occasionally is not a failure, it is the wrong yardstick. The number is only alarming when it disagrees with how the product is meant to be used. Not every product should be daily. This is the point people miss most, so let me say it plainly. Not every product should aim for a high daily stickiness, and chasing one for a product people rightly use once a month is wasted effort. A text tool, a service you need a few times a year, an app for booking the occasional appointment. None of these should be judged by whether people open them daily. For products like that, the daily ratio is meaningless, and forcing a daily habit onto them usually means adding nagging that annoys people more than it helps. The weekly ratio, which is why, for a lot of products, I prefer a gentler version of stickiness. The weekly active over the monthly active, DAU WAU divided by MAU. It asks what share of your monthly users show up in a given week. A fairer bar for something people use regularly but not daily. The daily ratio suits the messaging apps of the world. The weekly ratio suits the bookkeeping tools. Pick the window that matches how your product is genuinely meant to be used, and the ratio finally tells you something true instead of scolding you for the wrong thing. The vanity count trap. Now the mistakes, because these numbers are unusually easy to misread. The first is treating a big raw count as an achievement in itself. A large MAU feels great and proves almost nothing because it counts anyone who showed up even once, including people who will never return. A total user count is the vainest number of all, since it only ever goes up and includes everyone who ever tried you and left. The counts that mean something are the ones about who came back, not the ones about who arrived. The wrong denominator. The second mistake is quietly using the wrong denominator, and it wrecks your comparisons without you noticing. If you compute stickiness with DAU over MAU 1 month and DAU over total signups the next, the two are not comparable, and the change in the ratio might be pure definition drift rather than anything real. The same discipline that keeps churn honest applies here. Pick one definition of each number, write it down, and hold it steady, because a metric that keeps changing shape underneath you is worse than none. Counting logins as value. The third mistake is the deepest, counting a login as if it were value. A person opening your app is not the same as a person getting something out of it. And if your definition of active is merely present, your whole tower of numbers measures foot traffic instead of usefulness. I have seen products with healthy-looking active counts that were quietly dying because people logged in, felt lost, and left without doing the one thing the product was for. Always ask whether your active event is real value or just a door opening. New versus returning. One more thing these blended counts hide, the mix of new and returning people inside them. A monthly active number that looks flat might be masking a churn of old users balanced by a rush of new ones, a bucket refilling as fast as it drains. Splitting your active users into people who are new this period and people who are coming back tells a far truer story than the single blended figure, because a business that keeps its returning users is on very different ground from one that only survives by constantly finding strangers. What these numbers cannot tell you, and here is the honest limit on all of it. Active user counts tell you how many people showed up and how often. They do not tell you whether those people are happy, whether they will pay, or why the ones who left drifted away. A healthy stickiness ratio is a strong signal that you built something people want, but it is a signal, not a guarantee, and it can sit next to a business that still does not make money. Treat these numbers as the pulse of engagement, not a full diagnosis, and keep your eyes on revenue and retention downstream. Forensic Geoffrey stream. If this made active users feel less like a slide full of big numbers and more like something you can actually reason about, that is exactly what I am after. Every one of these explainers lives in writing at Data Research Analysis Collection. Come, the whole metric library in plain English, so you can read this one again slowly with your own numbers in front of you. Or pick up the next metric when you are ready. No hype, no promises about your results, just the numbers explained clearly so you can make your own call. Nintili. Active users are the people who did the real thing your product is for, counted over a daily, weekly, or monthly window. DAU is your fast pulse, MAU is your reach, and the stickiness ratio, DAU over MAU, tells you whether people made your product a habit. Pick the window that matches how the product is truly meant to be used. Guard your denominators, and never count a login as value. Do not chase a daily habit for something people rightly need once a month. Next time I want to explain the North Star metric, the single number a whole business can be steered by. I will see you in the next one.